Ball State SportsLink's third Down Chirp is presented by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Log on to papajohns.com today for more info.
Every team has setbacks. Every team faces adversity. What happens next defines success. So we ask ourselves, what is our mission now? Is this where we give up? Is this where we admit defeat? Is this where we fall apart? No. This is homecoming. This is where we stand up and fight back. This is the moment we change. This is where our comeback begins. One team, one mission. One team, one mission.
All afternoon long in West Point, New York, it rained, it poured until the end of the game when the sun came out and it was a beautiful day. But unfortunately for Cardinal fans, there was no Cardinal victory in sight. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Third Down Chirp delivered by Papa John's. I'm your host, Luke Martin, alongside Tyler Bradfield, Connor Onion. Guys, another loss for the Ball State football team, and it almost seems like we have the same script every week, even though it's a different game. Yes, another loss, but the Cardinals had their chances yet again to get another win.
That they did, down by 3 with just minutes to go in the fourth quarter and can't pull out the victory.
It was an enjoyable trip out to scenic West Point, but unfortunately for the Cardinals, they couldn't come away with the result that they had hoped for.
Let's go ahead and look back at the Army game over the weekend, and well, what can we describe that day? Would soggy be a good term?
Yeah.
I think soggy would be a great term to describe the day in West Point, New York, with our Sounds of the Game segment brought to you by the radio calls of Tyler Bradfield and Connor Onion on Sports League Radio 91.3 WCRD.
Good afternoon from Mikey Stadium on a raining afternoon, casting over the skies of West Point, New York in the Army Academy. Today, the Cardinals are back on the road to finish their slate of non-conference games in 2014 with a familiar foe, as of recent memory, serving as the host in the Army Black Knights. Second down and goal to go for Army. A.J. Sure asking the cadets to be quiet. His crowd takes the snap under center, calls his own number, and leads it across the goal line for an Army touchdown. First and 10 for Ball State. Takes the snap, turns right, gives to Edwards, spins away from the tackler, down the middle to the 50, 45 of Army, angling to this left sideline to the 30, foot race down to the 20, 15, 10, 5, being chased down from behind and into the end zone for a Ball State touchdown. Third and goal to go from the 1-yard line. Sure once again takes the snap, leans it over for another Army touchdown. This one on a low hanging end over end kick is taken by Patterson on a scoop to the 2, 5 to the 10, down the right hash mark to the 20, sees the corner to the 30, back to the middle of the field, stiff arms the man to the 40, and wrestled down from behind at the midfield stripe at the 50-yard line. First and goal to go for the Cardinals as we begin the fourth quarter. Man under center, a receiver into the direction in red. They move left to right. Snap gives to Edwards, sheds a tackle in the backfield to the 5, and marches his way into the end zone. Raby and Banks back with him. Snap to him, looks to his left, throws to the back of the end zone. It's Curry with the two-handed catch made in the back of the end zone for a Cardinals touchdown. Williams, top side left, Aussie man calls for the snap, knee high, drops straight back, throws to his left, intercepted! It's intercepted by Jeremy Tim, and you can put a cap on this one. Aussie man intercepted.
Huge win for Coach Monken and the whole Army Black Knights crew as they improved to 2-3 on the season. Ball State falls to 1-4. Tyler, just rewatching that game and listening to your calls, what do you remember about the game?
Look at the numbers by Larry Dixon on the right side of that screen. 188 yards, 20 carries, and 1 touchdown. Do the math, that's roughly under 7 yards per carry, and when you're touching the football 28 times, that proves the Cardinals had a tough time containing the run.
For me, the star was Angel Santiago at quarterback, but not for what you see here on the graphic, what he did through the air, but what he did on the ground. 89 yards rushing, and he came in the second quarter, relieved A.J. Sure at quarterback. It was a much-needed spark for the Black Knights, and the combination of him and Larry Dixon led to the demise of the Cardinals.
You got to tip your cap as well to Army defensive coordinator Jay Bateman. Did a great job scouting the Ball State Cardinals all week for what was a huge win for Army as they improved to 2-3 on the season. Coach Limbo went back and watched film on the game against the Black Knights as he revisited the loss during his weekly press conference earlier this week on Tuesday.
Obviously not the results that we want. You know, you try to go back and evaluate your preparation, evaluate how you performed in the game, the things you did well, the things you didn't do as well. You know, I told them it's just critical that we take care of the football today and then run the football effectively. And we did one of those two things, but not both. The early turnover was obviously costly because it put us behind. It put us behind early. It gave them great momentum early in the game. We really needed more first downs, and incredibly important was field position. When we were backed up on our own 1 yard line, if we could just punch that thing out and get a couple first downs and try to punt it back to them and give her a longer field to deal with there, I think that would have helped. Offensively, the 2 late touchdown drives in the third and fourth quarter, we ended up scoring the first one just as the fourth quarter began. We looked very, very good executing those drives. If you just watched those 18 plays, you would say it's a pretty good, pretty effective, pretty capable offense. The defense had its moments, but like the offense, was inconsistent. I was disappointed with the technique up front on our defensive line. I thought the effort was good, but I thought we lacked detail. You know, at the end of the day, where we're at right now, for a variety of reasons, it's good, but just not good enough.
Fellas, I am ready to put this Army game in the past and move forward and talk about homecoming. So let's do that with our opening drive, recapping the Army game. Tyler, what stands out to you after the game?
Well, for me, obviously, it was a rainy, wet game. So therefore, given the conditions, you're going to run the football a little bit more. But take a look at Juwan Edwards' numbers just a little bit closer. 12 carries, that's the lowest number of touches he's had all season, and 142 yards. That's the most yards he's gained all season on the ground. That's a little under 12 yards per carry. Early in the fourth quarter, Connor, there was a play where it was a little pass out in the flats to Juwan. He was initially met after about 5 yards. He then spun away from the tackler, gained another 15 for a gain of 20. And you brought up the point of last year, Juwan really doesn't make that run.
Right, he has been spectacular this year. He wasn't bad last year, but he's made strides again this year and has gotten even better in his senior season. But for me, it's finding a way to win football games. Against Iowa, you're a couple plays away from winning that one. Against Indiana State, you're 2 yards short of the goal line in regulation from taking it to overtime. And then against Toledo, settling for too many field goals in the red zone. And then against Army, just a little bit too little, too late. And when you're 1-4, you can roll the dice a little bit, be more aggressive. And for me, one thing that it comes down to is forcing more turnovers. Only 1 interception for this defense, which is last in the Mid-American Conference.
Something they did almost every game last year. For me, it's really being your own worst enemy for this Ball State team. We mentioned how they've had so many opportunities. You're a couple of fourth quarter drives away from possibly the 1-4 record being flipped. And that is a huge difference. And you look at the Edwards fumble on the opening drive, that got Army on the board first and really ignited the Black Knight offense throughout the day and just the energy on the sideline. Silly penalties such as the roughing the passer that extended a Army drive. So many things that made a Coach Limbo football team so special. was doing the little things right. And right now, this isn't necessarily a question of talent, that there's not enough talent on this football team. It's just those little things are separating Ball State from being 4-1, undefeated, to being 1-4, where they are right now, heading into the Western Michigan game this weekend. Well, one of the most unappreciated positions, well, outside of host of Third Down Chirp, right? One of the most unappreciated positions is being an offensive lineman, the battle in the trenches. And for our Papa John's Slice of Life segment, Connor Onion took a look at Steve Bell, what he is like away from that battle in the line of scrimmage.
Offensive tackle, Cincinnati, Ohio, redshirt sophomore. I chose Ball State mostly because I like the coaching stuff a lot, and Ball State's a beautiful campus, and the teaching program here is really good, and I'm in elementary education, so it just makes sense. Playing basketball is pretty valuable. It got me conditioned after the football season, back for winter weights and everything. And then after that, it just gets your feet better and gets them quicker, and I just think it's great. Redshirting here is really tough. It's hard, it's a grind, and I think it just makes you ready for the grind that's going to be on the field, gets you more physically and mentally sound so you can go out and do your job. I think offensive linemen deserve more respect, simply because nothing happens without us. I mean, you can have a great quarterback, you can have great receivers, great running back, which we do, but I think the whole offense revolves around the offensive line, because if you don't have anyone blocking for you, you're not going to get many yards on any play. It's awesome. It's great. I mean, that's the ultimate goal is to score. And if someone scores, we know that we did our job. And for a long drive, it's nice to sit down on the bench afterwards. I think the hardest part is just how physical it is. I think not only does your body hurt after each game, but you're just thinking about what plays you could have done better and how you could have helped the team more. I think it's of the utmost importance. I think if two guys are having problems off the field, it's going to affect their on-field play. And if they're having problems off the field, then they're not going to be able to talk to each other as well or communicate as well. So I think that if the offensive line really meshes, it just makes everything better. I've gotten a lot stronger and bigger in the offseason. And second of all, I'm trying to be a little bit more tenacious and physical in the run game, which I think is starting to pay off. My favorite memory is probably beating Virginia, just because the atmosphere was great, and it was great to go out there and show these ACC guys what we got. The most important thing that he's taught us is just to think about the next play. A lot of guys will screw up if they're thinking about the last play, but if you just focus on each play and just try to win each play, then usually things go as you like.
Now it's the time of the show that not just you, the fans, enjoy, but we enjoy as well, and that's looking at our social images of the week. You guys ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our social images of the week from the game out at West Point, New York. And this is from @SunsLegion Radio, a sideline shot of the fog and the pouring rain. I was used to that, fellas.
Yeah, that describes the weather perfectly right there.
It was really cool to see all the cadets in their uniforms supporting their team, too.
Ball State football going through their walkthrough at Michie Stadium. Really, just a gorgeous stadium there in West Point, New York.
It was a much more gorgeous day in that picture, too, than we saw on game day as well.
You can see at Army A Club as well, the cadets. All the cadets have to go to the games, which makes for just a majestic scene on game day, as you could tell as well from Instagram at the Chris Madigan.
You know, Luke, I think Connor brought up a good point, just how gorgeous this area of the country is. It's so different from Schumann Stadium. It's so different from any other football complex you're going to see in the Mid-American Conference.
And it's right there on the Hudson River.
Yep.
Right there on the Hudson River, too, which was absolutely stunning to take a look at.
Just if only the rain could have stayed away. It would have been a gorgeous day, of course, until the game is over. But remember, for our next home game, Western Michigan this weekend, you can win a free Papa John's pizza. Be sure to tweet or Instagram a photo using the hashtag 1T1M for One Team One Mission or hashtag ChirpChirp. That's pretty simple to win a pizza. You can do it. 2 people have done it already this year, so be sure to tweet out your photos from this weekend at Schumann Stadium. Now, it's Mid-American Conference season. The non-conference schedule for Ball State, it is done. You don't have to worry about that anymore. All conference play the rest of the year. So how about we look at the Mid-American Conference?
I like it. And you look at last week's stats in the Mid-American Conference. In the game on the left hand, Toledo, Western Michigan. I'm interested in this game mainly because Toledo was Ball State's last opponent before Army, given the bye week, and then Western Michigan is following Army. But look at the score, 20-19, an overtime loss. Toledo's a team that was picked to finish first in the MAC West. That shows just how improved from last year to this year under P.J. Fleck, Western Michigan.
You're always aware of what your rivals are doing, right? So I was monitoring the Northern Illinois-Kent State game. Northern Illinois just skated on by. Kent State missed a 56-yard field goal with 2:15 left to play in that one. They haven't won a game yet. So I think this game showed that Northern Illinois a little bit more vulnerable than a lot of people expected because they were picked by the coaches to finish first in the West Division. That bodes well for the Cardinals. We'll see them here in Muncie in November.
Now let's take a look at the MAC West Division standings. Of course, this is the division that everybody's watching from a Ball State perspective. Right now you're at the bottom, but you've only played one game, 0-1. Toledo's undefeated. What kind of stands out there to you guys?
Well, that's the thing right there. You've only played one game. You're 0-1. Someone's got to beat Toledo. You got to get a little bit of help. But if you can just do your job, Eastern, Western, Central, Northern, take care of what you can control, you'll be all right.
Obviously not a lot of separation yet with a lot of teams only playing 1 or 2 games, the exception being Toledo playing 3 already. But with 7 straight conference games now for the Cardinals, you're going to find out a lot about this team and what they're worth heading forward.
And no offense to the folks in Ypsilanti, but everywhere else in the MAC right now, you can even throw UMass in there and Miami in the East Division. It's a toss-up.
Really
every team's almost similar every week. For guys like us that we're like, okay, this is a win, that's a lot. Just throw it out. It really is a coin flip, and that is the state of the Mid-American Conference, which means every game counts, and it's really going to be a fun season to watch as things progress. Okay, let's focus on the homecoming game with the Western Michigan Broncos and welcome in on the third Down Chirp phone line, the voice of the Western Michigan Broncos, Robin Hook, for our Behind the Mic segment. Robin, first and foremost, thanks so much for joining us this week. We look forward to seeing you in Muncie, Indiana this weekend. The Broncos 1-11 last year. We've already talked about that improvement, but it seems like this is a Bronco team that they believe they can go out on any Saturday and beat any team in the country. Do you sense that excitement and that belief from the press box in Kalamazoo?
They really do, and they're competing at a pretty high level against some pretty good competition. You know, they opened the season with some games that they had an opportunity to win, got a victory at Idaho, defeated Murray State in the home opener, played well in their season opener at Purdue, really thought they should have won that game when it was over, and then put in a solid performance against a really good Virginia Tech team before opening up against the MAC West favorite Toledo Rockets in conference play last weekend, and a team that came in averaging over 37 points a game, top offensive team in the conference. And the Bronco defense shut them out in the first half, and Western Michigan's offense got it going and threw for 370 yards. Zach Terrell, a Fort Wayne kid, was 30 of 37 passing. They really felt they should have won that game, but Toledo made the plays at the end of the game, and they were able to pull it out in overtime. But this team is having fun playing football. They're competing at a really high level, and even though they're a little bit thin at some positions, they're getting some great play from a lot of key guys, and it's paying off.
Robin, as a second-year head coach, how has P.J. Fleck been able to progress things so quickly in Kalamazoo from year 1 to year 2?
Well, he's just got so much energy, and he's recruited well. I mean, the guy's an unbelievable recruiter, and he's brought in some players, the kind of talent that we haven't seen around here in a while. And even though they're very young, they're very talented, and they're playing at a high level early in their career.
Robin, I want to touch on this defense a little bit. They're middle of the pack statistically, but looking at last year, they allowed 35 points per game, so they are much improved. Where do the strengths lie on this defensive unit?
Well, the strength of the defense is in the back end. You got 4 starters returning from a year ago playing in the secondary. Ronald Zamworth's one of the top cover corners in the conference. He has 9 passes defended with a couple of picks. And then on the other side, Donald Seliskar is a senior, and he's missed a little time with injury, but he is an outstanding player too. And those 2 corners, I'd put up against any 2 corners on a team in the Mid-American Conference.
And Robin, we mentioned moments ago about the Toledo game over the weekend for Western Michigan, a 2019 loss in overtime, a missed extra point for the Broncos. How have they handled that loss this week in practice, knowing it was just such a tough and devastating loss, which could have went to double overtime?
I talked to PJ this week. He said they've had their best week of practice. So that's a good sign. They have responded very well. They get right back at it on Sunday. They practice on Sunday night. They take Monday off, and he said it's been great this week as they get ready for Ball State. They're having fun playing football. They know they can compete with anybody in this league, and they think they can win every week, and that's the way they're approaching each game.
Once again, Robin, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you this weekend at Schumann Stadium. Well, there's one topic that we haven't mentioned on Third Down Chirp yet this week, and that is we have a new starting quarterback at Ball State. Or I should say Ball State has a new starting quarterback this weekend with Jack Miles replacing Ozzie Mann.
That they do, a new starting quarterback, but how does everyone else respond? Obviously, Miles is going to be a little bit nervous, but how does everyone else respond?
Well, being out at practice a little bit this week, it seemed like there was that spark that comes from a change at quarterback, and guys were re-energized. They were playing music at practice. Guys were jumping around. So I think it's a positive change at the right time for the Cardinals.
And Connor Onion was jumping around as well. So that was the rumor that I've heard out at Schumann Stadium. That's a perfect segue into our Third Down Chirp scouting report to see how the Cardinals are handling the quarterback change, but also preparing for the Western Michigan Broncos.
Really like this Western Michigan team that's coming in. I like the way they're playing with a lot of energy and enthusiasm and toughness. You know, Coach Fleck seems to be really adjusting well as a head coach now in year 2.
Their front four is very, very active. They're 4 down front, and it starts with their 2 inside kids. They're really active. They move a lot and then create a lot of disruption in the backfield. And then they play a lot of man coverage. And their corners are very experienced guys, and safeties as well. They've all played a lot of football for them. They rely on those guys on the outside to kind of lock it down and take care of business on the outside and let the front 7 go stop the run.
It's a much improved team this year. They got great athletes. They're going to spread you out. A lot of 11 and 10 personnel. So they got great wide receivers, a good running back, and it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Well, what they do is they spread you out like a lot of offenses are nowadays, and they've got an excellent running back in Jackson, and then they also have very good receivers that stretch you vertically down the field. So they got a good run game, they got a good throwing game, and their scheme is such where they create some problems for as far as getting lined up and making sure you're in the right gap assignments and that type of thing. So they're an explosive offense.
They have some of the same guys. They're pretty physical. Linebackers really physical, not real big guys, but they're real physical, and they'll come up and hit you. I think that it's going to be a tough challenge, but we're up for it.
The thing we have to do is we got to be more focused on what we're doing. We got to talk more on defense. We cannot let them get us out of our gap control, and we got to make some plays on the deep balls. If we can do that, I think we'll be successful Saturday.
It all comes down to disciplined football. And, like I said before, a couple guys weren't in the right spot, and it starts with me. And it starts with the leadership on the defense. So we really got to do a great job of, just having that enthusiasm, having that discipline, and that emphasis on we got to be on the right spot every play, because the one play you take off is the one they're going to hit on you.
Honest to God, just keep doing what we're doing, and keep staying the course, and trusting each other, and being more consistent. At times we're playing awfully good football, and at times we're struggling a little bit. And if we come back and watch the tape, it's the little things that turn into big things, and we got to keep focusing on what we're doing and keep getting better each and every week.
Mentioned that it's homecoming weekend here in Muncie, Indiana, which is perfect for our Big Three, a homecoming aspect for our Big Three this week. And we're going to toss it over to Torey Fox, who we believe just got done doing a little dance segment for Fan Jam this week. Can we see your dance segment at all? Are you going to unleash that at all?
We're going to hold that for next week, all right? Man. Cardinals Strong, the theme of this year's homecoming at Ball State University, and welcome to the homecoming edition of the Big Three, where we start with the fact that Ball State is 53, 32, and 2 all-time in homecoming football games. The largest crowd ever for a homecoming game was in 1997 versus Central Michigan, when 21,527 people packed Schumann Stadium to see the Cardinals beat the Chippewas 37-34. Speaking of wins, Ball State's first homecoming was celebrated in 1926. That was the same year Walt Disney Studios was created, and that man, Calvin Coolidge, was in the White House. The football team, then known as the Ball State Hoosier-Roons, defeated Hanover 13-0 in that game. And finally, one key aspect of homecoming that we got to talk about It's the Ball State Bed Races. It's an annual event that started in 1980. The concept is simple. 5 people on a team, 4 push the bed, 1 rides in it. The team that crosses the finish line first in the fastest time takes home the trophy. Why do we bring up the bed races? That's because this coming weekend we got a special edition of HepCam. Ball State wide receiver Aaron Hepp will be there interviewing competitors before and after they compete. Should be fun.
We know HepCam will go well. Let's hope the game goes well. So, guys, X factor for the Cardinals to bump this losing skid to end it.
Well, you brought up the quarterback change. Jack Milas, of course, put him at ease. Slot receiver, Chris Schilling's my X factor.
I'm looking at Aaron Taylor at Sam, linebacker. That's Aaron, best hair in the Mid-American Conference, Taylor. He's a hybrid between a run stuffer and a pass defender. Western Michigan can beat you both ways. With Jarvion Franklin, he's first in the nation in rushing touchdowns, and then also Daniel Braverman, first in the Mid-American Conference in receptions per game.
I'm going to go with Jordan Williams. Again, Tyler Bradfield stealing my notes. Exactly the same reason to give Jack Milas somebody to throw to. I think Chris Schillings and Jordan Williams will do a good job. Let's hope. Can the Cardinals bump the losing skid? Come out to Schumann Stadium to find out. And we hope you enjoyed another episode of Third Down Chirp. Let's get homecoming weekend started in Muncie, Indiana. For our director and producer, Alex Seitz, for the whole talent team, Torey, Fox, Tyler Bradfield, Connor Onion, I am Luke Martin saying so long from Studio B here at WIPB. We will see you again soon talking Ball State football. Chirp, chirp. Let's get the win against the Broncos.